I also want to point out that our next speaker, Craig Lewis, is actually getting quite famous in the state of California. I'm delighted, grateful he's our partner here. We worked together on the Moore Park initiative, which is to try and get 250 megawatts approved to be able to be locally based rather than through Edison, and we're hopeful that will continue to yield good results, and so far it's working. We worked together very closely on the Puente Peaker plant, which, as I mentioned earlier, we were able to stop. And we'll be talking not only with Craig, with other people. We'll be bringing, and there'll be a meeting on this probably in about 4 months. We're going to be bringing a cryptocurrency to the area called a solar currency. And what it is actually, it's the first cryptocurrency that's based on the generation of photons into electrons. And we'll be bringing you some information about how you can all participate in that. And so there's ways that you can even stimulate and profit from people solarizing their homes and their buildings. I was asked earlier tonight about our ongoing battle to finalize the closure of Diablo Canyon, and I'm not going to take time tonight to do that, but after the meeting's over, if people would like to get an update, I will be happy to provide that. So with no more further ado, I'd like to invite our partner, Craig Lewis, who's going to be talking about this plan that we're proposing. I want to also say that CEC has already endorsed it, so I'm very pleased that we're going to put something together that's not only viable, but that the community is already starting to respond to. Craig Lewis.
I think I will go with the podium mic here. Judi got us started with a moment of silence, which was really, really nice. And I want to take a gesture of appreciation for Ronaldo. I met Ronaldo for the first time about 5 years ago and have gotten to know him, over that time period, but have really got to know him more so over the last year. And every time I meet with him and talk with Ronaldo, I learn more that I just appreciate so much. And last night was a big one. We had dinner last night. I thought it was going to be about an hour. We were there for about 3 hours. And he's one of the most altruistic, determined, creative, generous, and fun people that I have ever met. And to top it all off, he's fun. I enjoyed our entire time having dinner. So just join me in thanking Ronaldo for. I also just want to call out a couple other people in the room that have a lot to do with everything that I'm going to be presenting tonight. Robert Perry, who works at the World Business Academy. Just raise your hand, Robert, so people know who you are. We've got Michael Chiacos from the Santa Barbara Community Environmental Council. And we've got Mike Weissman. Mike, let me just say, just before you give him applause, he is the person who wrote the check to give us seed funding to make everything you're going to see tonight possible, so that we get this whole project started. So, Mike, thank you. And finally, and then I promise I'll get started, I just want to, one of the people that's really helping to bridge the Clean Coalition and the World Business Academy is Matt Renner. Matt is now with the Clean Coalition because he lives up north where the Clean Coalition is actually headquartered up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And Matt is now with the Clean Coalition and has just been a tremendous force for us. But he, as most of you might know, he was previously with the World Business Academy and obviously is just a great bridge between the two organizations. So, Matt, thank you. So without further ado, I am here to talk about the Montecito Community Microgrid. And this is all about renewables-driven resilience for the critical facilities that are in a certain section of Montecito. If we had enough money and enough time and energy and enough political will, we could do this across all of Montecito. We could do it all across, Santa Barbara County. But we've got to start, small and get that first bite-sized piece done and let everybody see how to do this, and then we grow it from there. A lot of people may not be familiar with the Clean Coalition. I will say that we are headquartered up in Northern California. We do a lot of work across California and across the country. We are a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to accelerate the transition to renewable energy, primarily local renewable energy, and a modern grid. You've got to modernize the grid if you're going to get renewables to any significant penetration level of the energy mix. So those two things go hand in hand. And I will just say that I am moving to Santa Barbara. I grew up in Santa Barbara, and I am moving back to Santa Barbara. Spent my whole lifetime after I moved away for college, spent the rest of my lifetime trying to get back here, and finally going to happen. And part of that's with the help of Ronaldo. He's really helped me set up a couple of things that were really important to get down here. And again, part of my appreciation for everything he does. Let me just start off. What is a community microgrid? A community microgrid really is a new way to design and operate the electric grid. And it's designing it and operating it in a way that you can get lots of local renewable energy stacked into the distribution grid. And by the way, distribution grid versus transmission grid. Rule of thumb, if you see wood power poles, it's distribution grid. It's where you're close to where people live and work. If you see steel power poles, it's transmission grid. It's kind of going out over the mountaintops. Everything that the Clean Coalition does is really focused on the distribution grid. It's right in the load pockets where people live and work. And community microgrids are basically taking big chunks of the distribution grid and getting lots of local renewables in there, and then using energy storage and demand response and some other techniques and technologies to make sure that all of those assets are coordinated and can provide economic, environmental, and resilience benefits in a way that central generation, whether it's renewables or fossil or nuclear, whatever, could never provide the type of resilience that local renewables can. And community microgrids really enable local renewables. And they do it in a way that's very replicable. So once we get, say, the Montecito Community Microgrid that you're going to see, we get this, we can extend it across all of Montecito, all of Southern California Edison service territory, and we can also take that exact same design and we can plop it into other utilities. We can plop it into PG&E's service territory and utilities across the country or across the world. So very replicable. The key stakeholders in the community microgrid are the property owners, really critical. So for the folks who are property owners in this room, or property owners that are good places to site solar on their parking lots or their rooftops, we need to hear about them, and we need your help in helping those property owners make sure their properties come to play, and also to make sure that the community is not, kind of up in arms, like, hey, we don't want to look at solar on somebody's roof. It's like, okay, that's a really outdated way of viewing the world. We need solar on people's roofs. The utility is really critical. Matt and I will be down at Southern California Edison all day Thursday. We've got multiple meetings across the Southern California Edison organization to really help make sure that they're going to be a partner in the Montecito Community Microgrid. They're critical to making it happen. The municipalities, obviously, Jen Krieger, her team, and the people in the various city municipalities that she mentioned, critical to making this happen. The solution providers and the financiers are all obviously very important too. So this is a picture of Montecito. Montecito is actually a census-defined place, a CDP, and it's defined by the tan-covered area. Obviously, Montecito, people, think of it bigger than that, right? Pieces of what's part of Santa Barbara City are also, would be considered part of Montecito, like the Montecito Country Club, for example. By the name, you would obviously just expect that that's part of the Montecito area. And so it's a little bit bigger than this. What we see on this slide is basically where we've identified the biggest concentrations of solar siting opportunity across the Montecito area. So all of those icons on there, and we'll zoom in a little bit so you'll see it better, but you can see that it shows up in clusters where there's opportunity for siting solar. The Montecito Community Microgrid that we've identified is really concentrated between the Montecito Country Club, the Vaughn's Shopping Center, the Coast Village Strip, and then you go down to where the Four Seasons and the Coral Casino are, and then you come across the shoreline there and you come over to the Academy of the West, the Montecito Sanitary District, and then you go a little bit further over near the Bird Refuge. You've got a event center and a athletic club, right? So all of that whole area is what we've identified as a perfect opportunity for doing a Montecito Community Microgrid. So let's tell you another reason why. This teal-colored feeder line, it's called the Hot Springs feeder. That feeder connects all of those properties that I just mentioned. So same feeder, it makes for a perfect opportunity to tie all those properties together electrically. This is a block diagram of all of those sites that I mentioned, and it kind of simplifies what that feeder circuit looks like. That entire feeder is served out of the Santa Barbara substation, which is over near the Funk Zone, and then that feeder comes all the way out and basically serves this portion of Montecito. Like I said, because it is electrically connected, we've got a perfect opportunity to tie these properties together in a community microgrid. So community microgrid, if the bigger grid goes down, you can isolate all these little pink plus signs. They're basically switches. So you can switch off and isolate from the substation, which basically connects you to the transmission grid and kind of the larger grid out there. And then you can switch off your non-critical customers. You can make sure that your solar and your energy storage are reserved for your critical facilities. What are the critical facilities here? They're the places that you're going to get your food. They're the places you're going to get your water. They're the places that you're going to shelter if the proverbial shit really hits the fan, right? You need a place to go. And these locations, there's lots of places to actually go and shelter. Obviously, Vaughn's, you've got food, you've got refrigeration. The CVS, you've got pharmaceuticals. The Academy of the West, the Four Seasons, you've got places you can actually go and get provisions. You can go and shelter if you really need to. I know it might sound a little bit morbid, but the cemetery is a big space. I mean, if you have if you absolutely need a place to go, you're going to go there. If that's where people are setting up, right? Well, hopefully go there and leave when you're ready to go home or whatever. Montecito Country Club, a lot of space there. So this is what we're envisioning for the Montecito Community Microgrid. That solar siting survey we did for all of Montecito came up with a little over 11 megawatts of total solar siting opportunity, and about 40% of it, a little over 40% of it, is in what we've identified here as the Montecito Community Microgrid. So if you look at all of Montecito, almost half of the solar siting opportunity is in what we've identified as the Montecito Community Microgrid, and about 90% of it is on parking lots. So for people who are nervous about, solar on rooftops, well, I got some good news for you, because most of this solar opportunity is actually on parking lots, and hopefully people can get over, a solar parking canopy and actually provide shade to your car, and it helps you, protect from other rain and other things. So lots of solar siting opportunity, mostly on parking lots. So this just drills down into the various opportunities. This is the Vaughn's cluster right here. We've got almost a megawatt of solar siting opportunity there. This is the Coast Village Strip. And basically we've got about 1.3 megawatts of solar siting opportunity here, almost all of it on parking lots, and a tremendous amount of it on these parking areas that are right here along the 101. They're actually, they're serving the Coast Village Strip shops and whatnot, but it's right here, and I believe that is either city, I think it's city property. City? Yes. Yeah, great. Right, so the city, they want lots of local renewables. Bring your properties, right? This is the Four Seasons Coral Casino. This is the Academy of the West. Lots of solar siting opportunity there, especially out here on its parking lot. The Montecito Sanitary District. This is the little part of the cemetery. This is Ty Warner's property. So if Ty Warner owns the Montecito Country Club, the Four Seasons, and the Coral Casino, hey, Ty, we'll tie your house in the Montecito Community Microgrid if you play with your other big properties that we really want. So we've got a little extra enticement for him. This is the event center and community center, athletic club area over by this is the Bird Refuge Water right here. So this is right there. And then here's the Montecito Country Club kind of large view, zeroing in on where the solar siting opportunity is here at the Montecito Country Club. We've got two parking lots, one right here, one right here. That's where all the solar siting opportunity is at the Montecito Country Club. This is a project that we helped bring to life up in San Francisco. It's in the Mission District of San Francisco. It's the highest density of urban solar in the entire city of San Francisco. This solar's been in place for a number of years. Right now, we are tying energy storage together with this project. It's on the PG&E side of the meter, so it's called wholesale distributed generation energy storage, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I say this is a peek at the community microgrid future, because right now it's just solar, but when we get the batteries there, it's going to be a community microgrid, and this is an apartment complex that is for seniors and for disadvantaged communities, low-income folks. And this is a community that you want to be able to shelter in place. They're not super mobile. They can't move to an emergency shelter, right? So now we've got an opportunity for solar and energy storage to provide shelter-in-place opportunities for a very vulnerable population. And it's going to look exactly the same once we add the energy storage. Right, so this is a peek at the community microgrid future, because what you need and what's visible is the solar, but the energy storage is going to be there, and so is the ability to coordinate all of these assets. And this is my last slide, so yeah, thank you for your attention.